Hello and welcome to Get Married in a Year. My name is Liza Chuma Akunyili. Today we are speaking on future, which is the last part of selfish needs. In case you're listening to me for the first time, we are working through an 18-week series called Get Married in a Year. And the first installment of it has 3 topics: needs, status, and your future. We've covered the first 2, so if you haven't listened, please go listen to it. And the idea of this podcast is to give you practical questions you answer that then help your dating life. And at the end of every episode, I answer one question someone has asked about dating in real life, or I give you a tip for dating in real life. And on Saturday, there is a prayer podcast that is built off what we have learned on Tuesday. So let's get into today's episode. When you check out and pay attention to your personal needs, not the needs other people think a marriage should meet, your own needs, one of the many things that will come up is your future. Although the person you like or the person you hope to like is supposed to love the boy in you or the girl in you, at some point you have to live as the man you are. You have to live as the woman you are, which then means that you have to choose someone who can live in the reality of who you are. In the last episode, we had spoken about someone who can stand beside you, not just behind you. When you look at the future the Lord has shown you, what are the grand things about that future? So, if the Lord has shown you that you're going to relocate at some point and go live in another country, perhaps temporarily. I've met a married couple who said the Lord loaned the man, choice of word, loaned him to a specific country. And after a couple of years, they had to return to where they were staying before. Someone else will say, oh, but I've enjoyed staying in that country and I don't want to go back and blah, blah, blah. So if you're a person who is a missionary, and the grand scheme of things is that you don't live in any particular place extensively. You don't know when the Lord is going to say, okay, pack your bags. Or let's say you negotiate to the Lord and you're saying, okay, I don't want to pull my kids out of school. They can change. We can change a location after primary school and then change a location after secondary school. But I don't want to move them too much. I don't want them to move about. I don't know what your negotiations with God are, but you also want to be careful that you don't get out of alignment in a bid to negotiate. That is a conversation for another day. But say you're a missionary and you cannot explicitly tell that, you'll be in a place for 10 years. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you get a spouse that ends up resenting you. Now, people change, people evolve, even you will evolve. But you want to know that this need exists. The need to be someone who is mobile, who is flexible. Not someone who says, if I live in a particular place, I cannot imagine myself living anywhere else. The grand scheme of what your future looks like has to play a significant role. If you want 4 kids and this person is saying, I only want 1 child, yes, you can negotiate, but you're going to end up with issues if care isn't taken. When I was practicing as a therapist, a question had come up on a podcast I was invited on where someone had said they wanted a certain number of kids, their partner said they wanted a certain number of kids, and they all assumed that when they got married, they were going to renegotiate this thing, except they never successfully renegotiated it, which meant pregnancies were coming up and the other party didn't know pregnancies were coming up. You want to be really, really careful with subjects like that, especially when they are things that are pretty set. And when I say they are pretty set, they are not things you're assuming. You're not saying, it would be nice to have 2 kids, and they're saying they want 3 kids. The margin between 2 and 3 is very slim. It's just 1 child. It's so you can negotiate up to 3 and negotiate down to 2, but 4 and 1, 2 extra pregnancies, that's a lot. You need to know things that are set for you, things that you will not manage both as a person and things that the Lord has assigned to your life. So where are the areas of your future you need to pay attention to? You want to pay attention to the structure of your life. How is your life designed from the way the Lord speaks to you? From the way the Lord speaks to me as a person, business is heavy for me. Now, if you had told 17-year-old me that business would be a big deal, I may not have imagined it. I would have imagined myself as a social entrepreneur, which was where I did start from. I would have imagined myself maybe doing a bit of non-profit work. I could have imagined it because I was doing a bit of advocacy and I loved writing and all the blah, blah, blah. But I didn't know how much business was going to come into my future. So when I got in my 20s and the Lord started to talk to me about business, it blew my mind. Business for me in the life God has ordered for me is a non-negotiable. Therefore, when you speak about your life, what is the language the Lord speaks to you in? What is the direction? I'm not speaking about the specifics because you and I don't know the specifics, but there are general directions that we can say, oh, from the way the Lord is speaking, from the way the Lord is moving. Oh, I may not even do this in my 40s and my 50s, but perhaps in my 70s because the Lord is still speaking to it. General life direction. Number 2, the things that are fun for you. I presently don't salsa as much as I used to. I've never taken waltz classes. I've attempted it unofficially, but never properly. I've never tried out bachata. But from the way I'm mentioning them, you know that these things are things I've read about, paid attention to, right? Those things are fun for me. They are fun. I know sacrifices are made to do some of the things I just listed. It sounds hilarious to someone else. Although in this phase, I may not be doing those things, I don't think there's a future where they're negotiable, where dancing is negotiable for me. I don't think there's a future where my kids grow up in a house where there's no music. It's not possible. I can't even imagine it as I'm speaking. I can imagine, to me, death is the only substitute that takes music away. And I don't mean listening to songs. I mean singing songs. I mean dancing to songs. I mean being alive musically. It doesn't matter who I get married to. Musical instruments are going to be in my house. Do I play musical instruments? I don't play any physical instruments. But I can't imagine a house that I live in a house and there's no grand piano inside it. I can't imagine it. Those things for me are fun. Those are the things my kids should grow up with. Even in the tone of my voice, you could see that I changed the moment I started to speak about those things. So wouldn't it be weird if I tell you, yeah, I'm marrying this person and the music comes up and the person cringes? Like, wouldn't you be worried? Some of us don't pay attention to the things that actually make us happy. I used to go from, those of you who know Nigeria a bit well, I used to go from Idori to Akure just to take salsa classes during my youth service. It's crazy. When I was in Ibadan and I finally found a salsa class, I was going from Akobo to Bodija. Now, for those of you who don't know, because I do not expect that 90% of you know what I just described, but you can actually Google this. These distances I just mentioned, neither of them is less than a 30-kilometer radius. Neither. So I was probably traveling. 30 kilometers is an understatement. I'm really not getting my mathematics right now. But neither of them. So I was literally traveling just because I wanted to go and dance. It is important. God has not made a demand of you where He takes away the things that bring you joy. Therefore, if you sacrifice them, it is suffering. The Lord didn't demand it. There was a period where I was being excessively workaholic and a prophetic word came to me. And I remembered I couldn't even decipher it. So I went to a leader in ministry who was way, way, way older. And when I say way older, I'm speaking about 30, 40 years older than me. And the interpretation of this word was that the Lord was saying to me that I had sacrificed that venture in a bid to live on the straight and narrow. That is not a prophetic word for you to borrow, by the way. I'm just saying God pays attention to these things. God made you to enjoy life the way you enjoy it. Therefore, if you put yourself in a relationship romantically that takes that away from you, the unique design of life enjoyment God has given you, you will suffer things God has not designed for you to suffer. So it is important that as you pick a future partner, your fun is a need, it's not a want. The things that make life memorable are needs, they are not wants. Okay, number 3, parenting. What's your futuristic parenting goal? Based off what the Lord has told you about your future, the number of kids you're supposed to have, the way your kids are supposed to be raised. Perhaps if, like Manoah, the Lord has given you a blueprint for your Samson, don't go with someone who says, no, a razor must come upon my child's head. Some of us have been privileged to know the names of our kids already. Some of us have been privileged to know the country our kids need to grow up in. Therefore, you cannot say no that your child is supposed to grow up in country A and then you meet a partner who says, I will never step in country A, and then you start begging them. You are out of alignment futuristically. And then finally, your legacy. What has God called you to do for posterity's sake? And how has He called you to execute it? If the Lord is calling you to build something that may not be celebrated in your generation but will deliver the next generation, you can't afford to end up with a partner who wants it now. The miracle must be suddenly. The life must be now. People must applaud us now. You can't afford that kind of person in your life. If the legacy the Lord is giving to you is that I need you to execute now, because the need has been open for a long time. You don't want a partner who is constantly saying, yeah, if we don't do it, someone else will do it. If we don't do it, someone else will do it. You don't want that either. And so these things are need. Your life, fun, parenting, and legacy. Those are needs you need to pay attention to. And for today's dating tip, the easiest way to enjoy your dates when you go out on a date with someone is to go out on a date in a place you enjoy, or to do an activity that you enjoy, or be around people that you enjoy. Better still, combine all three of them. Go to a place you enjoy to do what you enjoy with the people you enjoy. What this can look like is perhaps instead of meeting this person for the first time in a mall, but you do hate malls because they're crowded, perhaps you want to take them to a park you enjoy sitting at. You are not necessarily going to build enough memories on a first date to ruin the park for life, except it's really that terrible, but you're most likely not going to do that. Or meet them with not necessarily your best of friends and introduce this person as, oh, this is the person I want to marry because this is a first date. But it would be great to perhaps have them in a picnic with your friends. And so it's open, you feel safe because your friends are there. It doesn't feel too intense, but you're also learning this person. Right. Now, that's a place you love and the people you love, an activity you love. Go there and enjoy it, because if you are in your comfort zone, if you are in your safe zone, you are more likely to be yourself. Then you don't feel like you are in a test. You don't feel like you're getting marked and graded downward. All right. So enjoy yourself. And the more yourself you are, the more you are able to focus on them, because you're not adjusting your outfit. You're not adjusting yourself. You're not thinking, oh, do I look great here? Do I do this here? You already know the environment. You already know the people. You already know the activity. So you are more relaxed and therefore you can enjoy the actual date. I hope that has been useful for you. If you have any question, simply scroll down and ask your questions anonymously. I know this episode has blessed you. So please leave a testimonial below. It does help the next stranger, the next outsider who's never seen anything from my platform, who sees this to say, oh, okay, this person is amazing at what they do. Until I see you during the prayers. Bye.